Every time I see you in the world, you always step to my girl.
There's something special about Vampire Weekend's music. Their songs exude intelligence and culture, and they've built a reputation for themselves as one of indie's most sophisticated bands over the course of 3 excellent albums. Today I'm going to dive into the history of the band and the qualities of their music that have helped them build a reputation as one of the most intellectual acts around today. Vampire Weekend was formed at Columbia University by 4 young men of eclectic background. Their debut single, Mansard Roof, immediately established their style as whimsical and eclectic, with simple lyrical imagery that summons thoughts of their Ivy League roots. The song isn't complicated. It clocks in at just over 2 minutes long, featuring 8 lines of lyrics. Mansard Roof takes its title from the roof design of the same name that originated in France almost 500 years ago. In addition to popularity with the French, Mansard roofs are common in American houses built in the mid to late 1800s, of which there are many in Vampire Weekend's world of educational prestige and history, set in the Northeastern United States. Vampire Weekend continued to release singles as 2008 began, receiving substantial exposure from publications like Pitchfork, Stereo Gum, and Spin. They found themselves playing shows and appearing on magazine covers without yet having released an album. Critics praised them for their Ivy League aesthetics and African pop influences. The band's style was hailed as refreshing because of their clean sound that included varied instrumentation and clear mixing. Vampire Weekend released their self-titled debut album in 2008 to rave reviews. The album is 34 minutes long and is comprised of 11 lighthearted indie pop tracks that all serve to create a cohesive aesthetic of wonderment for the listener. The band references landmarks in the way of life that define New England and Ivy League culture, without specifically referring to their status as Columbia University alumni. In the months following the band's initial explosion in popularity, they experienced a backlash from many people who considered their songs to be insensitive rip-offs of African pop music. They were declared the waspiest band in the world by some, an ill-founded insult that was quickly proven untrue when the band members revealed their Persian, Italian, Hungarian, and Ukrainian heritage. Not only were they far from the accused milquetoast white, they also all attended Columbia thanks to scholarships and student loans. Ezra Koenig, the band's singer and guitarist, revealed to interviewers that he was still paying off student loans in 2009. In a 2010 interview, Koenig recalls an encounter in which a classmate at Columbia asked if he had gone to boarding school, a question that shocked him because he was so far removed from that world he had forgotten that people actually went to boarding school. Despite detractors' claims about their privilege, Vampire Weekend's self-titled debut was amazingly successful. Its clean and natural sound earned it a peak position of number 4 on the Billboard Top Rock Albums. It charted in the UK, Switzerland, Australia, and other countries. In retrospect, the album was declared the 24th best debut of all time by Rolling Stone. Pitchfork named it the 51st best album of the 2000s, while Time magazine called it the 5th best album of 2008. It's not my favorite release by the band, but there's no denying it's an impressive piece of art. Many bands struggle for years to find their unique voice, and Vampire Weekend were able to effortlessly establish who they were on their first album. Their aesthetic of intelligence, heritage, and excellent musicianship spread like wildfire. The band's second album, Contra, came out 2 years later. It's clear from the beginning moments of the record that Vampire Weekend were back not to reinvent themselves, but to build on the style they've created in their first release. Contra debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, though in retrospect it's often considered their weakest work. Nothing in particular separates it from the band's previous album, and Contra is once again a record that's been polished clean many times over. There's not a moment on it that makes us feel like Vampire Weekend could possibly not be in control of their sound. Many bands let the music lead them where it will, but that couldn't be further from the truth here. Songs like Cousins and Diplomat's Son experiment with more chaotic instrumentation, but even they remain upright and controlled. Contra was nominated for a Grammy for the Best Alternative Music Album of the Year, but it lost to the Black Keys' Brother. Vampire Weekend took 3 years to release Modern Vampires of the City, but the wait was worth it. The album is considered their definitive work to date, receiving a 9.3 from Pitchfork and winning a Grammy for 2014's Best Alternative Music Album. Modern Vampires of the City isn't a massive departure from Vampire Weekend's previous work, but it is different. the band made a few changes that really pushed the album above their previous two in terms of quality. The most notable and immediate difference is the addition of texture in the music. Modern Vampires of the City possesses lo-fi qualities that were explicitly not present in the band's previous polished work.
Days were long, our nights no longer. Count the seconds, watching the hours, though we live on the U.S.
Even the cover art is rich with history. It depicts a 3-day smog that covered New York City in 1966, reportedly killing almost 200 people while it hung over the town. It's an unassuming photo at first glance, but it tells us that Vampire Weekend are bringing a lot more to the table this time around. The song Step sums up a lot of the album's positive qualities and the progression from Vampire Weekend's previous work. The song is marked by a decidedly lo-fi soundscape that plays in the background, as well as a slight fuzz that covers Ezra Koenig's vocals, almost like a blanket of nostalgia and introspection. Speaking of which, Koenig's vocal performance feels different on this album. He sounds more passionate, perhaps even desperate in the way he sings. Hannah Hunt is one of my favorite tracks on the album. And while it's not depressing by any means, the signature emotional poise and control that defines Vampire Weekend's early music is not present. On some songs, this results in unbridled energy, and on others, a relaxing intimacy. Hannah Hunt is a great example of both qualities. In just 4 minutes, we hear Ezra belt out impassioned declarations and whisper hushed confessions. For me, Modern Vampires is the band's best work. It's beautifully produced, incredibly personal, and in places angelic. One thing Modern Vampires of the City doesn't leave behind is the band's high culture roots. They make sure to include allusions to travel, history, and luxury. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but there are people who will put them down for it. To me, it's a good thing. They present an honest view of their surroundings, untainted by stereotypes or cultural stigma. There's a reason they were called the whitest band on earth, and that's because they weren't concerned with evading someone's label. There's an honesty in their music that lifts them far above the competitors, and I can't wait to hear their album that's slated to release in 2018. I can only hope for more genuine, engaging lyricism and moments that seem to almost stop time with their poignancy. Vampire Weekend is uniquely American, yet there's an element of universality in their music as well. There's a reason they're so popular, and it's because they appeal to a universal desire for goodness, beauty, and truth. The band has done an amazing job at capturing the spirit of the good life so far, and I can only hope they continue to do so for a long time to come.
Dressed for the weather, August deceiving, they're huddled on Aster, snow falling slow to the sound of the master. The gloves are off, the wisdom teeth are out. What you on about? I feel it in my bones.